Okay, Friday, 10th of July, 2026. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Dominion Day. Happy Dominion Day, we could say. Although really it was the 1st of July, but nonetheless it got me thinking. It took a little bit of time for logistics and recording. Now, this is the former name for Canada Day. Now, that's interesting. Canada, I'm not in Canada, I'm not Canadian, anything like that. But the whole concept and premise of Dominion Day at a wider level points to an interesting a crisis of meta-identity in the West. I did a video about this, alluding to this, I can't remember, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. Bit of a deep philosophical video. And the idea here is, with Dominion Day, is that at an interesting deep level, it's interesting how the Western countries, English-speaking Western countries, don't have such a intentionally orchestrated culture that combines them together. I mean, as in like politically backed or culturally enforced or just generally normally acceptable. In a sense of, the EU has, say, Erasmus program and foreign exchange programs. So then I just think, culturally speaking, in terms of Dominion Day and Western Anglo-Sphere, why is it that the Western Anglo-Sphere doesn't have so much of close ties? I mean, I got an idea with regards to runaway individualism, and we could say capitalism, where capitalism, money and wealth has replaced culture and identity and society. And I did a video about this actually on 23rd of April 2024. I was in Ireland, I remember, Knightstown, where at the sake of culture and community you've got wealth. Interesting. But going back to the point, Dominion Day, it's interesting how Western countries haven't got much of a united culture together and banding together. As in, it's a shame, you could say, it's not common for people in England to say, oh yes, I have been to Canada, I spent a month there, I've been to America, I spent a month there, I've been to Australia, I spent 2 months there, and New Zealand, I've been there for a year, stuff like that. Meaning, anthropologically speaking and genetically speaking, you could say these countries have similar genetics, similar culture, similar backgrounds, similar ethnic groups. Britons, Anglo-Sphere, Anglo-Saxon, English-speaking, WASP even, you could say, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant background and culture and attitude. And interesting, at a deep level, we actually see this with social media with regards to the World Cup right now happening in America, where Scottish people are going to Boston, and they are really getting along well with the locals over there because they have similar anthropology, similar ethical background. It makes sense that they share a common bond, they share common ancestry. So then you say, well, if there's a resurgence of Dominion Day in Canada, then it's a bit of a shame, you could say, where the West doesn't have a West doesn't have a promulgated. West doesn't have a common share. The West is not capitalizing, taking advantage of, perpetuating, fulfilling. The West isn't perpetuating, let's say, the Anglo-Sphere, that culture, that ethnic block is not being pushed, perpetuated. Again, like I said earlier, why isn't it common for people in England to say, oh, I've spent 6 months in America, oh, I've been to New Zealand for 2 years, stuff like that, foreign exchange or culture or whatever else. Now, in a sense of in the same way how in the EU, it is politically backed and kind of socially common to have been involved with Erasmus, things like that. It's interesting. And I think in the distance, we're seeing that resurgence of that cultural bond being reignited. What's going to happen from there is interesting, and we shall see. 15 years from now, who knows? It could be quite common, but that's an interesting ethnic block, an ethnic culture that's not explored, not perpetuated, not pushed. There's other things like Erasmus, but that is neglected, even in spite of the anthropological background as presented by what's happening in the World Cup in the United States of America. But we shall see in the future. That's interesting little. That's an interesting little thing happening in the background on the horizon culturally. That Dominion Day and what it means culturally for other Western-speaking countries. Again, the Anglo-Sphere. the Anglo-Sphere, that ethnic bloc, that cultural bloc, that history bloc, is neglected, ignored, underfunded, things like that. I don't know. It's just, it exists, but it's not acknowledged culturally, socially, politically, even though it exists. And the bonds, to be rationalist, the bonds of that bloc is present in how the Scottish fans integrated well in Boston during the Football World Cup in June, July. Wow. Interesting. But we shall see what happens in the future with the Western Anglo-Sphere bloc. But anyway, nonetheless, it's an interesting observation. And it's an interesting observation and an interesting remedy to the identity crisis in the West. That is interesting, yeah. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.